Right, I do apologise for the delay. We're finally back after a few issues. I didn't realise that the mic wasn't working. In the meantime, we've seen Egapro go fastest. We will do one check to make sure everything is properly working now, and then we'll be good to go. Welcome to the LSI Saturday Tier Summer Season final race, round 6 of 6. I wanted to clarify what Zingy was doing earlier on, so I'll do it again. They extended the final major corner to start their lap to try and gain everything they could. You are allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that in qualifying, not in the race, but in qualifying you're allowed because it's very difficult to regulate. Now all the cars are in the pit lane, but we do see the Scotsman and Jericho Willis also leaving and getting ready to go. And we are finally good to go. So thank you very much for your patience. Sorry for the comms issue. We're now finally talking once again. I'll try and make sure that's fixed for future live streams. And we'll see how it goes. Egapro currently ahead in the pit lane at the moment. I assume about to leave very shortly. It's Zingy who's now ahead of Zingy. Sorry. It's Zingy now ahead of Jericho Willis. And on an out lap to go again. Will they go for 2 prep runs this time? Well, looking at the time on the clock, it's going to be a little bit tight and I wouldn't really want to push it. Actually, it's going to be virtually impossible. So this will be it for Zingy. This is their final run here. And for the final time, across the line to start the lap, using the battery all the way up to the line so they have enough deployment for the next lap, and it overrides, then into the first corner, trying to stay away from the grass on the right side, then cutting the next few corners, pulling it all the way to the left. They're not riding the curb a little bit, they rode the curb. That gives you the rotation and minimises the track distance. Turn 4 up next, hard braking, once again riding that inside curb and then going to the outside to open up the lap, open up the steering. We know Eagle's very quick around here. We know Zingy is a pole position machine, but right now it's not so simple for them. Looks tidy in the first sector. The middle sector, they've cut on that left-hand side a lot more than they did before, gaining some more time, but they've gone deep. Oh, they've gone deep into the following corner. We'll go over the sector line to start Sector 3. You don't really gain too much lap time in this final sector. He's got a 10th on it right now. It's tidy once again up to the line. Lots of battery all the way to the end. DRS will be available. They can find a bit of time here. What's it going to be for Zingy as they go across? It's going to be, oh, it's not enough. They lost out big time at the very end. I do not believe it. It's Jericho Willis to cross the line next. They've invalidated Nifayam. Will follow on as they try and attack Egapro for pole position. Igor will be ready to defend the lap after, and they are on scrub tyres right now. They've gone for a bit more of a standard or expected strategy. Nifo over the sector line. It didn't look so great. They go into the pit lane. It is Egapro on pole position for the second time in 2 days. They're not improving, but it doesn't matter. They have done it. Well done indeed. Egapro is on pole position for Brazil once more. They love this circuit. They love it indeed. Across the line to finish the session. And that will be a very tight qualifying, regardless of the size of the grid. Absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see how this one plays out. We saw Jericho Willis getting a pretty good start, but battling in the early stages yesterday. And that meant that Eagle was able to break away a second gap. Then the strategy went all a little bit weird. They had issues with the pit stop entry. And then the race kind of went downhill from there. Now they've got a second chance. 35% distance race because we've reduced it due to the smaller grid. But we're still going to have a great one. Eagle Pro on pole, Nifo P2 and Jericho P3. The race director on your screen. And we'll be back in a bit for the race. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Nif on the inside line. Wheel spinning though. Eager Pro will not be contested. And it's Zingy getting to P2. Absolutely perfect. But Nifo from P2 down to P4. I do not believe what I've just seen. Jericho Willis staying effectively exactly where they started. It's now the Serbian right there in P1, but they've got the 6-time champion right behind them. We currently have 8 LSI F1 championships right here, and we've got 1 F1.5 championship on the grid. It is a stacked lineup despite the small attendance. This is going to be good, that is for sure. I can't wait to see how this one goes. We're halfway through the first lap already, and it all looks very tidy so far. Nifo's not going to be happy with what just happened, but they know they've got to focus, because with a smaller grid means that less mistakes are effectively going to be made, and the bunching up won't really be a thing, as they can all go pretty quickly. Usually if there's a big grid, then bunching up can be a thing, and you can catch up to a pack if they slow each other down in the corners, but this won't be the case. The train of 4 in a straight line with slipstream is going to be brutal, and it is Eager Pro who leads the way. And once again, we're on a 35% distance race here. So it means that we're in a completely different strategy situation. We're going to get Zingy going for the move, I think, to the inside line. No, they're actually looking to the inside, just spotting their breaking point. Nifo looked like they were maybe going to have a look at Jericho Willis, but they didn't in the end. Back to the strategy. We're going to have a very different strategy. It's going to be a one-stop, straightforward, medium, hard. Before, it was going to be a 2-stop, but because of the situation that we're in, that we are in, we've decided to reduce it to 25 laps. It makes sense, and we're still going to have a good race. There's still going to be some management involved here with the tyres. Undercuts and overcuts are still going to be a thing. It just means that you have to make one less stop, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of flexibility with the strategy, and because nobody really practices for this distance of race, nobody really knows what to do, when to pit, and what tyre it's best to do. I think it's going to be fairly straightforward with the tyre situation though. Zingy sits behind Igor, doesn't want to go to the move for the move, but late on does make the decision to do so. I think they got spooked by Jericho Willis. They thought they were going to get passed by the American driver. I thought they were going to sit back and let that happen, and that would allow Nifo to bunch up. Oh, Igor's going for the move as well. The inside line, there's contact. Oh, I don't believe it. That's Jericho Willis going off the circuit, and that is now Igor out of DRS range. They switched around. They looked to the outside, then looked to the inside, and there was still contact. I don't quite know what happened. We didn't get to see a very good view of the incident. Igor's 1.7 seconds back, and they will have had that little bit of a spin, so the tyres are going to be slightly worn. But if they're lucky, then they might be able to catch up despite this DRS train being a thing. That being said, with Jericho Willis making a few mistakes here and there, they could end up losing the train, and that would mean it's less cars in the train. And it will allow Nifo and Zingy to escape a little bit more. As we've seen them do in the past as teammates, they love a good old train and work together. They're doing that right now. Jericho Willis will catch up to Zingy quite nicely, and that'll be absolutely fine. You can see in the background though, Eager Pro frustrated as they just lose tenths and tenths and tenths. They're going to try and gain it back in the middle sector where all the corners come about, but on the straights it's going to be basically impossible. I'm not even going to say virtually impossible. It is impossible to do anything. So Igor's got to hope for a battle, but with 3 champions being ahead of them, I don't think they're going to be dumb enough to fight and allow Igor to catch back up. We've currently got 9 seasons of LSI victory on the grid. And that is 8 seasons of LSI F1. It's about 4 years of racing, effectively. Which is almost half of LSI. And DRS available for Zingy, and they do get a good run on Nifo. They are going to go side by side. It's going to be tight on the inside line though. Contact is to be made, And they just sit on the racing line on the exit. Very well defended from Nifayan. Zingy's going to look to try and have another go as they put the battery on momentarily, but then backed off. I wondered if they were trying to stay ahead of Jericho Willis, but I don't think they were. Unless they were covering their back, they wanted to try and go for another move. 3.2 seconds now as the gap continues to extend. Eagle has to try and do something crazy here with the strategy. Luckily, they've got the hard tyre to go on to later, so they could try and go for a crazy undercut, or they could try and go for something like a severe overcut, which wouldn't really be so simple. But if they want to get into this train, they might have to do something drastic. But also, by pitting early, that will mean everybody else is effectively going to have to react. So would he gain that much? I don't know. But once one car pits, everybody then changes their plan accordingly. It's Nifo holding on just a moment ago as it got very tight between the two old teammates. DRS once again available for Zingy, but way too far back to go for a move this time, having to save a bit of battery and recoup before they go again. You don't want to be constantly attacking the car in front if you can't afford to, and you end up risking your front wing. But also, if you've got a car behind you and you go and attack the car ahead, then you could risk losing the position to the car behind. So you really have to be careful in how you launch your attacks in a race. So that's why Nifo is probably feeling fairly safe on this lap. It's the next lap that they might be looking in their mirrors for any kind of moves. I have a feeling that if Jericho Willis was to go for a move at this point, then we could see if Zingy was to go for a move on this straight here, as that is a compromised exit from the Racing Bull, we might see Jericho Willis try and push her as well. They had the battery on there, they've turned it off now, they're not pushing, so they're not going to take that opportunity. Zingy turns off the battery as he realizes that Nifayan was pushing on the battery themselves, and they didn't really want to contest it because that would have been a little bit foolish. But fair enough to them. But I am surprised that Jericho Willis didn't pressurize Zingy into making a move. That would have definitely spiced things up. They've now got a 3.9 second gap, 4 second gap effectively to Eager Pro, so they can afford to fight a bit more now. The aggression could kick in, especially as we're getting closer to the pit window. Halfway mark of this race will be between lap 12 and 13, so we're looking to see what's going to go on there with the pit stops. We could see a pit stop on about lap 13 maybe, I reckon, maybe 10, and then everybody will fall in line accordingly. Once again, I think the Eagle's going to try and do something. That being said, what we saw yesterday was the in-lap from Zingy relative to Heischler was absolutely phenomenal, and they actually stayed right behind. So as long as you don't make any mistakes, by staying out, your in-lap can be really quite solid relative to the rest of the field. No move to be done there. Just waiting behind for now. The top three, of course, sticking with each other. Eager Pro has that tap as they went side by side with Zingy earlier on. We don't quite know what happened there, so that will have to be looked into after the race. And it has definitely compromised Igor's race. As you can see, 4.3 seconds now. He can't catch up or can't maintain pace in this train. That's Zingy looking to go for the move. I thought they were giving some body language on their wheel there. They do go for the move. It looked like they turned the battery off at the last second and still went for it. Now that is DRS available for Nifayan, but a brilliant run for Zingy. Although he went all over the curb, a phenomenal run there for Zingy. Nifo catches back up once again to the back of the Mercedes car. And then Jericho Willis can't do anything about it as the two in front control the race. Zingy very, very wide at turn 4, but still managing to carry the speed through the corner and stay nicely ahead of the racing bull. So pretty good going there for Zingy to do that. Currently 9 out of 25, and we're coming to the pit stop phase of the race. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Igor come into the pit lane in a lap or so, as these guys are expected to start. No, they're going into the pit lane immediately. They're making the call. They're racing effectively into the pit lane. There's a bit of contact, and luckily Zingy doesn't end up speeding. Eagerpro's going to follow into the pit lane as well, so they don't go for anything different. It's Jericho Willis, though, who is looking for something different, and they go a lap longer. Interesting call for Jericho Willis, not following their rivals. And there's the hard tyres that are going to be very, very chilly. That's a brilliant exit from Zingy. It's Nifayan who didn't have quite such a good exit on the pit lane. And they are still close behind, but that might be out of DRS range. It is 1.1 seconds. It looked like that. And now they've got a lot of work to do to try and catch back up. This might have been the moment that Zingy's won the Grand Prix. They were so close on entry into the pit lane. It was about the exit that they must have had an issue with Nifayan. So I'm not entirely sure what the call was there with that exit, but it's made a difference in the end. Jericho Willis coming into the pit lane as well. We expected this, but now we need to try and see where they're going to come out. Looking in the background, top left of your screen, you'll see the cars coming through around the final corner and across the start-finish line. Jericho Willis will have the tight inside line to gain some time back, but it's going to be a race with Nifayan. Will they be able to stay close? I don't know. No, they're not going to be able to get there. That's going to be DRS lost, and now the top three are spread out. Eager Pro has a bit more of a chance to come back into this race now. That has changed a few things. The Serbian can now have a look at getting back into this race, making some progress. They've got warm tyres relative to Jericho Willis. That's where you can see the time gain. Also, they're a pole sitter around here. Two-time pole sitter in F1 25. So they are making progress. They know what they're doing around here. Jericho Willis has got to get those tyres fired up as soon as possible. Otherwise, Eager Pro is coming for that podium. No DRS for any of these cars. So it is all about pure pace. It's about composure. It's about setup. And it's about concentration, focus, everything, all of the above. And it's now 4.7 seconds. Eager Pro is flying. 1.7 seconds between this man and Nifayan, who goes fastest, proceeds to catch up to Zingy once more, but it's Eager Pro going even faster. So that gap between P1 and P2 is pretty much fluctuating. As I see, at least, it was very close between fastest lap times, to be honest, with all of the drivers. But it's Eager Pro who has absolutely flown. Wow. The top three, very similar. Eager Pro is on a different level. 9.6 in the end. That's insane right now. Will they be able to continue that pace? I don't know. 4.6, 4.7. Jericho Willis has got those tyres fired up now, and they're definitely enjoying it a little bit more. Nifo creeping in on Zingy, putting that pressure on. 1.2 seconds, very close to DRS. They're having to dig deep here, going for the qualifying lap maneuvers, trying to run the battery as low as they dare. That is Zingy very fast in the straight line. By the time we get to the end of the straight, Niffer actually catches back up a little bit. But I think Zingy maybe had a bit of battery to use down the straight, and that was allowing him to do some work and make that gap stand back up. In the meantime, EagerPro made a mistake or so, as they're now back down to 4.9 seconds. So they were absolutely rapid for a moment, but now they've dropped back a little bit. 3/10 down in the first sector on their fastest lap time. So they are struggling a little bit. We're going to watch on board with Jericho Willis as they go over the second sector line. We've got Niffo very close to Zingy in the middle sector here as well. That's something to watch out for in a few moments' time. You can see them in the distance. But the sector line is what we're looking for with Jericho Willis. And we're looking to see what they're doing relative to their fastest time and what Igor is doing relative to their fastest time. There it is. Pretty much on the pace. EagerPro is currently pretty much 7/10 behind. That! Oh, I do not believe it. I heard a bit of contact. I didn't know what was going on. It's Zingy and Nifoyan who's made contact. It's Niffo with damage. Zingy's had a moment. Zingy's had an issue. Zingy's had a spin. And Niffo's gone into the back of him, and they now can't keep it on the circuit under braking with the front wing end plate loss. They've got DRS just about. Zingy just about has DRS and Jericho Willis. What just happened? That was the final corner that we've just seen a big issue, and must have been on the exit of the corner. They've got all over the curb and gone completely wide. EagerPro now sees things change. That is a 10-second time penalty that we have for Zingy for that incident. So that must have been a pretty severe collision. That's from the game. If they need to pit again, they are screwed. I don't think they'll need to pit again. I don't know if they'll try and get that removed or not. But 10 seconds brings EagerPro to P3, and with damage on Nifoyan's car, now they are looking for P2. What a change up in this race. We've got just over 10 laps remaining of the Grand Prix. Jericho Willis leads. DRS is available for Zingy in P2, but there's a 10-second to their name. There was a bit of contact, at least a noise in the background, but I didn't get to see what happened. I'm missing everything this weekend, aren't I? I just miss everything. I missed Zingy spinning at turn 1 yesterday. I've missed a few things earlier on so far, and I've missed that big moment, the big turning point in the race. It's now Jericho Willis and Zingy continuing to lead. Niffo, to be fair, after not being in DRS with that front wing damage, is actually holding on incredibly well to the back of the two cars in front. Zingy looking to try and launch an attack on Jericho at some point soon. It's EagerPro who is making good progress on Niffo. That's where it is though. That's the middle sector where Niffo will start to struggle. Even though it's slower speed and you should be able to rely on the ground effect a little bit more, it's still where they'll start to lose out. Jericho Willis could be under threat. Maybe next lap, maybe into turn 4, that's what we're looking at. Battery off in the corners. It's a compromised line from Zingy, so no move this lap expected. Well, they are close and there's no battery available for Jericho, at least they're saving it. Not expecting Zingy to go for a move. Zingy is going to send it to the inside line. Jericho Willis is going to back off as they realise there's not really any point fighting it. There's a 10-second time penalty for Zingy and they can hold on to DRS range. It's not like they've got that much of a doubt with their pace, and they've got a lot of battery to deploy as well. Now the thing is, Zingy is trying to get ahead because they're going to try and hope to break away from Jericho Willis and hope that they can use their race pace to extend that 10-second time penalty, as they can't guarantee that it's going to be removed, even if they try and dispute it getting removed. DRS available for Jericho Willis, and they'll catch up everything that they just lost a few moments ago. 2.2 seconds. Niffo has really held on incredibly well. EagerPro is just a couple of laps away from DRS range. And there is Jericho Willis catching back up to 2 tenths. Nicely to Zingy, and there's nothing that the Scotsman can do right here. Unless Jericho Willis makes a mistake, Zingy could be pretty much done. I think if there is an extension outside of DRS range, then Zingy's really looking for 10-second gap that they're hoping for. They'll hope to get the 10-second removed and not pit again in this race, and then pray that they get only a 5-second for any incident, if there is one to be investigated after the race. 1 second gap now, and Jericho Willis is not pushing on the battery. It's 9 tenths, 8 tenths. Zingy makes a mistake in the final sector, and now the battery's still not being pushed by Jericho Willis, and they've played that to just about perfection. No, they haven't. They've just missed out. Have they got it over the line, and they do get DRS? That's incredible there from Jericho Willis, pushing it all the way to the limit to still get DRS and have plenty of battery remaining. Jericho Willis absolutely flying to the outside line. They look. It's Zingy who goes deep into the corner, and they're going to stay ahead. Oh, parking it on the apex to try and get the better exit. It's caught Jericho Willis off guard slightly. In the meantime, we see EagerPro go for the move. Once again, DRS and an attack for Jericho. The inside line is theirs, as it was an aggressive defense from Zingy, just about right. And that is the McLaren leading the way. 3.5 seconds, EagerPro is now behind and is trying to make some progress as these cars ahead battle. Lap 18 out of 25. Zingy's time is running out here in Sao Paulo, and they could end up where they started in P last here in qualifying. .1 seconds, EagerPro making progress, and it looks like Nifo is still holding on, trying to be dragged along in DRS, working hard at the wheel with that damage. And all Zingy has to do right now to try and make Nifoyan's race worthwhile is give it absolutely everything. Try and push with all the effort. If you've caused an incident, if that is Zingy's fault, of course, then you have to make sure that you don't give up. Try and win the race. It's always what I live by. But with a 10-second time penalty, that is not going to be an easy task. It's going to be Zingy to the inside line as they go on the attack once more. And they're going to push Jericho Willis all the way to the outside. And that's Jericho Willis, not going to be happy with that move, but has a lot of battery in that car and will be ready to attack once more. They've got 1 lap fresher tyres as well. The freshest tyres on the entire grid. Zingy pushing to the limit there, locking the rears to try and get the rotation in that car, to try and extend everything they can. But to get there before the final major corner and on the exit where the detection point is for DRS, that's going to be very impossible. And Nifo continues to be dragged along by Eagle's DRS. It's 2.5 seconds, continuing to catch up. EagerPro is really looking for something a little bit more here in this race. DRS available for Jericho Willis once again, and they don't even need to use battery, as Zingy is turning it off, still going to the middle of the circuit to try and distract his rival. The mind games are kicking in here. Jericho Willis does get a scrambled exit, and that is going to be Zingy once again on the attack. They saved their battery. They've got a full battery to deploy once more, and they do go for the move. It is close as ever, and Jericho Willis has got a hell of a battle on their hands. The F1.5 reigning champion versus the 6-time champion. How's this one going to go? The 2 one-time F1 champions right behind, working together. I say that Nifo is holding on to the back of the pace of the Aston Martin, who continues to make great progress on the cars just up in front, who are battling and slowing each other down. Jericho Willis, no problem with that. Zingy, he has nowhere to go. And actually, to a certain extent, it's actually going to be Zingy who has no problem with fighting, because they're pretty much going to be last anyway. It's Jericho Willis that is going to lose out if EagerPro catches up and becomes in the battle. Not guaranteed to lose out, but it does make their chances of winning this Grand Prix a lot more complicated. This would be Jericho Willis's first win against Zingy, against Eagle, against Nifo. Of course, they've won many times in F1.5. They've not won in LSI F1, and this isn't LSI F1, this is LSI Summer Season, the Saturday tier. But to win against the champions would be absolutely incredible. They are not easy to race against. With the grid that we've got right now, the small grid, still good racing, it doesn't really put it into full perspective on how good these guys actually are. Sure, Jan Rotmer is insane, and Zingy's making a mistake, but they are still very good, I promise you. Zingy onto the grass, and that's going to be the pressure kicking in. 2.3 seconds, EagerPro fluctuating with the lap time. Jericho Willis now finds an opportunity to try and attack, I'm sure. If they fight, this brings another gate for EagerPro to try and go through and catch up once again. There it is, Jericho Willis pressurizing, going for the move. There's contact once again from Zingy. Zingy's being a little bit cheeky at this point, making more. And maybe frustrated that the battling has kicked in, but you know, Jericho Willis has every right to do it. You can't really do anything about it. You can be frustrated slightly in the moment, but you've got to keep calm and try and hope that something else can happen in this race. They don't actually manage, or they don't actually allow Igor to catch up at any point. We saw Nifo get very close to the back of the Serbian there, but they didn't go for the move. The Aston Martin's got no damage on the front wing, whereas that Racing Bull does, so it would be foolish to make that move, at least until later on. I say later on, in a couple of laps' time. If they does make a mistake, that puts them to 8 tenths already. They do seem to find an advantage in this corner here, and then are able to hold on fairly nicely through the left-hander. But that was a little bit of a difficult one there. They don't want to make that mistake too many times. We're going to see Zingy and Jericho Willis continue their battle. Jericho Willis has got everything to lose. Zingy's got nothing to lose. So Jericho needs to just let this happen and hope that they can come out alive. Zingy is just trying to fight and pressurize their rivals into any mistake possible. It's the way it's raced sometimes. It's not exactly ideal, but it's what the situation is as of now. Jericho Willis comfortably in front into turn 4 and will continue in the middle sector ahead. 2.4, 2.5 behind. These guys now are maintaining the gap between P3 and P4. And EagerPro is not going to have a look at the Grand Prix victory at this rate. 23 out of 25. We've not got long left in this Grand Prix. 2.5 laps or so. It's going to be between Jericho Willis and Zingy on track. But for the positions, it's EagerPro and Nifayan. And that's going to be for P2. Zingy with the 10-second time penalty. This is for P2. DRS and a big toe into the first corner. Battery is available. Zingy doesn't use it, but still wants to send it. Very late. It's not going to be an easy line, but it does mean it compromises Jericho Willis. Oh, and it looked like it was going to be possible for Zingy, but they had a snap of oversteer, and actually Jericho Willis had their car pretty well positioned. It still is enough for Zingy to have another go, and into turn 4 they will get ahead, and Jericho is not going to fight that. You can see what they're doing. You can see that they're just trying to back off and survive this race, and they're going to use the battery. I don't know what Zingy's doing. What is Zingy doing? I don't know why they're driving in this way. They've slowed down and then they've retaken the position. Incredibly confusing. They're trying to save the battery, it looks like, but now it just brings EagerPro and Nifo into it. Very frustrating and not really sportsmanlike, I have to say, but as long as Jericho Willis can stay composed, they'll be good to go. Zingy being very, very silly at this point, because now it's been pretty unfair. It's brought EagerPro into it, and now DRS is available. Zingy makes a mistake on the exit. Jericho Willis is not going to be waiting around at all. They're going to be making that move. They're going to be spamming that battery, and they're going to try and save as much as they can to then have a go into turn 4, use the battery into turn 4. Zingy will not be able to challenge. They will still go for the move. There's contact made, and I don't understand what's going on. Nifo's made a mistake in all of this and gets a 3-second time penalty, and now EagerPro is in the battle to go for this move in controversial style. Jericho Willis to the outside line, backs off to just switch it. EagerPro is going to take everything they can here. They just made a little bit of a misjudgment right there. there. But now Jericho Willis turning the battery off, has to just try and focus. Eager Pro spots an opportunity. They've got no battery. Surely they have to go for the move in the corners if they want to actually make it work. Or are they opting to save the battery in the mid-section of the Grand Prix? I don't quite know. They want to try and have a go on the straight. It might be that Eager Pro recognises what's going on and tries to stay back from Jericho Willis. Jericho Willis should be safe. They've got DRS. They've got the battery. Eager Pro is going to give it everything. Zingy's going to cross the line first, but Jericho Willis, for the first time, will win in the summer season. Jericho Willis wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's Eager Pro to P2, and Nivoyan will still take P3 in the end. Zingy at the back of the pack. And that was not easy for Jericho Willis. Big respect to them for doing what they've just done. Absolutely awesome. Wow, wow, wow. That was not an easy fight for the American. And that is Jericho Willis taking the Grand Prix victory. It's Eager Pro in P2 and Nivoyan in P3. Zingy at the back with that time penalty in the end. And 9.679 being the fastest lap. That's insane from Igor there earlier on. This is the race director. And we'll be back for the post-race interviews. We'll see you in a bit. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Brazilian Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race despite the size of the grid. Nifo, we start with you. A little bit of a complicated one and frustrating, of course, with the damage. Can you take us through what happened there? Because it was actually off stream. We didn't actually know what happened with that incident, but also the whole race.
Right. Oh, there's the.
I've
Okay.
missed everything. I've missed everything this weekend on the stream. I'm sorry.
Yeah, quali. I think I would have had pole, but I just messed up. Like I think I had one of my best first sectors I had in the last few days, and then just got tunnel vision and went completely wide. Turn 7 or 8, I don't know, like the little hairpin after the long right hander, and then while P2 was fine, I had one of my signature now bad starts where I lose all my positions. Then some incidents happen. I'm back up to P1, P2. I pit the right lap. I'm right, like in Zingy's gearbox. Somehow he drives it away a second in the pit exit, which is incredible. I have no clue how that's possible, but that's fine. I was just catching him, and then final corner he spins, and I have no way to avoid him. He's too far to the right where I can't go. Like I either have to go like fully off-roading, or I have to like kind of pray. Like he was ghosted, so I went left, and then he unghosted, and then I was just hoping he was gonna unghost. He's not unghosting. So then like just before I hit him, I straighten up my wheel so I don't like DNF myself.
Yeah.
I get damage on my wing, and then from that point on, I'm just like fighting for my life to try and stay in DRS. Realized it was a bit. Well, I was never getting there because every braking zone I just lock my tires. I think locking the tires is a problem with this circuit in general. Without like a full front wing, it's especially worse. I don't know where I have grip and where not. So yeah, I just tried to stay with it, try to stay with Eagle, but yeah, it was basically impossible. But I think before that was a good race, and it's a bit frustrating. But yeah, there's really nothing I could have done. So yeah, it's just a bit unfortunate, really.
Yeah, fair enough. So everything out of your control, really, but everything that was in your control, you did as best as you could. Thank you very much. Final race of the summer season until the next full season. It has been a pleasure. We've seen you take a race victory in F1 25 already, of course, at your home Grand Prix. Really good effort today. Thank you very much for racing today, despite the circumstances, and we'll see you next time. Well done.
Thank you.
And we move on to Jericho Willis. Jericho, you've taken your first victory in the LSI summer season, the final race of the season as well, and you've managed to beat, I think it's 8 championships in LSI F1. That's pretty difficult to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I actually won the race, but thank you for that.
For now you have. So we'll say that you have.
Yeah.
For now.
It was a difficult one. This whole weekend, yesterday and today, has just been about kind of missed opportunities for me because I felt like my pace was there. I'm sure there were several guys that felt like if they got their lap together on their third lap, they would have got pole. And yesterday and today, I definitely felt like that. Like it was just not getting the lap together for the last lap, and there's definitely a lot more time in it. So that was frustrating. But with a small grid, where you start, especially with DRS here, where you start is not so important. As you can see, Zingy started 4th and fought for the lead and probably won. So not so important. But yeah, then racing him with a 10-second penalty was tough because Zingy was racing really tough. There's probably a handful of of possible reportable moments because he's just such a tough racer. It's right on the limit. I'm not a good enough judge to know if it's over the limit. A couple times I felt like it was kind of pushing me off track and I had to go off track. So, not too worried about looking at that at the end of the summer season. It's not, worth diving into, but just, want to learn how we can both respect each other on track, try to make sure we don't force each other off track, and I can step up the pressure a little bit there. So it was tough to know how hard to push with that 10-second penalty. You didn't want to push too hard if you had the race win by staying behind. On the other hand, you always want to finish ahead just to make sure, because you never know when those penalties are going to come off. So, but all in all, a fun day. and continue to learn a lot. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean, if anything you can take from that, you managed to race on, albeit a small grid, but they all happen to be some of the most decorated drivers and the most decorated drivers in LSI. So it can definitely be a positive thing, and you can't learn much better than that. So really well done. Thank you very much for racing today. Thank you very much for the season that you've given us this season as well, and I can't wait for the next ones. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Great, thank you.
And we move on to Zingy. Zingy, we didn't quite get to see it on stream, of course, with that incident, but can you take us through it?
Yeah, qualifying was quite bad. I mean, I just can't extract anything out of the car for some reason. Yeah, maybe I could have had the whole time theoretically, but I just made a few mistakes, and I mean, thankfully it didn't cost me too much. I was battling for the lead. Pulled a second out on Niffle, and he wonders how, but honestly, I don't know if you caught it on the stream. I've never pushed a pit exit that hard in my life, and that's probably the reason why I got the gap. And from then on, it was pretty smooth sailing until Jericho kind of caught up due to my incident, which, unfortunately for him, isn't a legit 10 seconds. I mean, it was a bit rubbish by the game to give me it, but I know maybe Jericho would be a bit more cautious because he maybe thought in his head that he had the race sewn up, so I took that advantage and I just went all in. And going on to the last lap, I made that move into turn one. I felt as though he moved a bit under braking. I know the track naturally turns to the left anyway, but I felt as though it was a little bit aggressive, but not reportable. So, yeah, I like the toughness of Jericho. I like that he's racing me hard and he's not racing me differently just because I'm zingy, which is always a good sign. And yeah, I'm actually very happy to win the race, and I know for a fact I did it half this time.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, obviously, we don't know for sure from our side, but we'll investigate that, of course. Thank you very much. Really good effort today. Thank you, as I have thanked everyone for racing today, despite the circumstances. I do appreciate it a lot, and I can't wait to see it. See you on your wheel for the future seasons. Thank you very much.
Sweetie.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. That's been it for the summer season. Thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you in a fair few weeks' time until the next season. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone so far this season, but also things in the background will be changing. So a new era of LSI will come around. It's been a hell of a journey. The changes probably won't affect things too much, but yeah, for my side it will change a little bit, and it's gonna be tough. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that's made what we have what it is. So thank you again. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.